Today, we look at enhancements in the digital employee experience. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone. Tanium's newer modules like Performance and Engage have been getting rave reviews from our customers. I know my own customer particularly, they love these modules. You can monitor endpoint performance, you can survey users for that last mile visibility, and this falls under the umbrella that we call Digital Employee Experience, or DEX. So we've covered these on the show before, and these have several updates also since then. And that's what we want to share with you. And it just keeps getting better. That's what I love about this show. It just keeps getting better. So joining us for the tour today and for her first time on the show is Mayan. Please introduce yourself for our audience.
My name is Mayan Stella. I've been at Tanium for over 2 years now, and I'm the product manager for the Digital Employee Experience Solution area. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. And why don't, for those who haven't watched the previous episodes, maybe could you just recap briefly what is DEX?
Yeah, so DEX is essentially the quality or how well employees interact with digital tools and systems that they use at work. So this includes software like applications that they use at work. It also includes their hardware, right? Like their actual devices. And then it also includes IT interaction. So when you call the help desk, what type of experience do you have? What is the perception that you get, that your employees have about the service that they get from IT? So the real value behind digital employee experience is really the ability to measure and improve employee sentiment, but also help IT support to, with automation and freeing up more time to work on less manual tasks. Because a lot of the issues that we're seeing from IT and why users are calling the help desk are repetitive. They're about 60% is the same kind of issues that are coming over and over again. And so being able to monitor and automate some of these issues, giving the power to the users to self-remediate and self-heal issues themselves, that's the real value here behind digital employee experience.
Yeah, I know my customer really enjoys the surveys where, for example, let's say they did a network infrastructure upgrade and they want to make sure people's connectivity isn't impacted or if their performance is improved on their endpoints right after a software deployment, and they just pop them a quick survey, say, hey, are things still running okay? Is this better for you now, right? And it's that, I like to call it reading the mind of your end user. So now you can actually see, because there's no sensor for that, what's in there. So now we've got a sensor for that with the surveys, and you can ask them what's going on in their head. So this is great. So how does this capability of digital employee experience align across Tanium modules?
Right now, when we talk about DEX, we talk about performance and engage. There's also a lot of overlap with other Tanium modules like investigate. We're also seeing some screen meet, customers using screen meet alongside performance and engage. But yeah, when we talk about DEX right now, is performance and engage.
So we've got a lot of new features on deck today to talk about. Let's start with performance. What's new in the performance module?
We have a few features that we've recently released in performance. They're all been pretty long-lasting asks from our customers, so really excited to be able to bring these out. The first one is performance alerts. So being able to send out alerts outside of the Tanium platform to whatever, email or SIM that you're interested in. And then we have network telemetry. So we essentially added 3 different network types, network events to the performance module. So let's start here on the Tanium overview page. From here, I'm going to go to performance, and we'll take a look at how to enable alerts. So from the performance workbench, we'll go into our profiles page. You all should be familiar with the performance profiles page because this is where we find my rules for the type of events that I want to receive. we have different metrics like CPU, memory, disk capacity. We have network events that we'll talk about soon, application crashes. But here, really, it's easy to define these rules in profiles. If I want to edit my profile, I'm able to go in here, and in addition to my event rules, I'm able to set up logic on top of these events to say, hey, I only want to get notified when I have at least X amount of events within X amount of time. It's really easy to see here how to enable alerts. I can go in here, I can enable alerts by clicking on this check mark here. And then from here, I'm going to create an endpoint finding when I have at least 2, 3, this is all customizable. You can change that. And you can also change the time frame as well. So this is really, really powerful because it really allows for customization and get relevant information about performance events and get this type of granular and real-time information. The other really cool thing here is that you can create an alert when a number of endpoints meet this criteria or when a percentage of endpoints meet the criteria. So let's say you only want to get notified when you have at least 10 or obviously it's going to be a larger amount of endpoints, but this is all customizable. So you can change and say, I only want to get notified when I have 5,000 endpoints meeting this criteria within this time frame. Again, you can get really granular, really creative with the type of alerts that you're getting. And it's been really awesome to see, feedback from the field saying that this has been a long time coming, and our customers are excited about the real-time value of this and being able to not having, being able to get that outside of the Tanium platform, being able to get it to their email or SIM. So really, really powerful here for performance alerts.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like an example, you could set up a profile for your VDI or your virtual servers and say if 25% of my servers are hitting the CPU really hard and it's in my virtual infrastructure, I should probably keep an eye on that because I might have some kind of an event happening or a storage event, right? So yeah, this is really nice to be able to get these alerts. So I know the answer to this question, and you know the answer to this question, but to make sure our viewers know, what do we do with these alerts then? How do they make sure that they can see the alerts?
A lot of our customers, they go to Connect, and then they have the ability to create a Connect source here as part of their, sending it outside of the Tanium platform. So I can create a test. I go down to this drop down, I click on an event, and then I go to my event group and I just go to Tanium Performance. You'll notice that that's a new event group that we've added. And then from here, it's really easy, to select your destination, wherever you want to send this alert out.
Fantastic. So I know we do have another whole episode on Connect. Go check that out with Shelly Sahani in the playlist here on YouTube for Tanium Tech Talks if you'd like to know more about our Connect module. Great. So we've got alerts now and performance. What else is new there?
Yeah, I just wanted to call out as part of alerts, right? It's really easy now to see all your alerts in the performance workbench. So you can see this, you can think about this as your kind of like your ticketing system, like a Jira, where you can see all your open alerts. You can take action, so you can mark it in progress, resolved, or dismiss. And then from here, you can also drill down into the alert, right? So you're able to see all the online endpoints that have received this alert. And the really cool thing here is that you can also see the performance score for this device. We talked about digital employee experience and having performance score for a device, as well as employee sentiment score. And I think we talked about it in previous shows, Ashley, but this is really valuable because you can see at a glance, right, how your device is performing. And you can also make a direct connection. You can go into single endpoint view. You can get all the endpoint details about this machine. So you can drill down further and see, let's say I'm in IT, I get a call about an issue. It's really easy to see all this different endpoint information in one single pane of glass here after I drill in from the alert.
Yeah, and I always like to point out the buttons at the top right. You can do that direct connect. You can deploy an action. You can get to that endpoint very quickly. And I like how this just flows seamlessly. I've been here at Tanium a long time. And in the early days, our modules were kind of siloed. But now with all these integrations across the modules, now you can see that I go from a performance alert right into that endpoint. I can direct connect. It just flows very nicely. I like it. So that's a good look at the alerts there. What else is new in performance?
Yeah, so another really cool feature that we've added is three different metrics for our events page. So we talked about all the rules that you can configure in profiles. And these rules essentially say, when something bad happens, when this condition crosses a threshold, notify me about this event. So we can see we have this events page here in performance with all these different metrics that we're tracking. You will notice that now we've added three different metrics for network specifically, because we got a lot of feedback from our customers that they wanted to be able to track and monitor network performance. So the really cool thing here is that you can see your process latency. So you can see which specific process is latent. You can also see, again, the different endpoints that had these events and make a direct connection. You can see the top models that you have with events. So maybe it's a specific model that is, have a lot of latency. And so this has been really powerful. Customers really like to see which specific process is causing them latency, see maybe there's something wrong, and then start their troubleshooting from there.
And so this is part of those profiles that we're used to configuring as well. So we've got the ability to set thresholds there and to get the graphs here. Very nice. So we have a number of new features on the performance side. How about the Engage module?
Brought a lot of new features as well to market. And I want to start by talking a little bit about notifications. Notifications is essentially a communication tool for our customers to be able to be proactive in the type of communication that they're sending or announcement that they're sending to their employees. Ashley, how many times have you had an outage or you had something wrong that is happening on your device? And then you started, spending a lot of time talking to your colleagues, asking if they're having the same issue, and then you open an IT ticket and said, hey, I'm having this issue. So now, instead of, having to spend so much time trying to figure out what is happening, are you the only one that is experiencing it? When IT knows that there's a broad issue and they want to communicate it to employees, they can do that really easily with notifications. So let's imagine, there's an outage with Zoom, IT is aware of it, employees, they're freaking out because they can't log into meetings. Now, the IT team have the ability to send out a notification saying, hey, we know that Zoom is experiencing an issue, and then you can monitor the status page of Zoom. So that really lets users know that IT is aware of the issue, that they're doing everything they can to fix it. And also, maybe it gives you, in the meantime, maybe I'll use something else. Maybe I'll use Teams for my meeting. Maybe I'll use Slack, right? So being able to be more proactive and being able to send out announcements or messages that don't get lost in Slack or email is super, super powerful. And the really, really cool thing here about notifications is that similarly to surveys, you can add a remediation, which can include either a link or a task. So in this specific issue, all these buttons are customizable. So let's say I click on this, it can automatically send me to a KB article, or again, in this scenario, send me to the Zoom status page. Super, super powerful being able to add these remediations, because we can see we have different scenarios here, as well as, like being able to restart a machine. So sometimes, we talked about surveys, and sometimes you want the end user input, you want the end user interaction. But sometimes you just want them to do something that that they have to fix.
All right, so let's be honest. What this is really about is when you need to send that announcement, hey, there's leftover cookies in the break room.
Exactly.
Right? Everybody needs to know when there's leftover cookies in the break room, or are you the one that burnt the popcorn in the microwave, So there's lots of ways we can use end user notifications here. And you're right. I mean, we've been hacking the other end user tools for years to try to make these notifications, and people have been asking this for a long time. It's finally here, and I'm glad to see with this audit trail too, right? Of seeing who clicked to acknowledge the
Mhm.
message. It's fantastic.
Exactly. You can see how many users have clicked on it and how many users have acknowledged it. You can see the response rate. And the other really cool thing I want to call out is that you can use it not just for IT related things, right? Like maybe you can, you want to remind your employees about some training that is due. So again, this is super, super powerful, being able to communicate and get that visibility from employees that otherwise is not always ideal, right?
And these are targeted to specific sets. That's right. I saw you just about to click on themes there. I know we've got a couple things going.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can start, let's talk a little bit about themes. Themes is a really, again, powerful tool here because we give our users the ability to customize the theme to whatever their organization's needs, right? So let's say we're at Tanium, right? We like the red and white or red and black. We want to customize it to make sure that employees know that this notification is coming from Tanium. We have an engage kind of theme notification here. And these are all customizable. So you can add different, images. You can change the button colors. So let's go in here and create a theme to show you what that looks like. Again, I can change the border color. I can even change the buttons. So it's really easy to customize it and add different images to my theme here. And then once you create this theme, you can just reuse it, right? You can only create it once and then you add it to your notification as
And
well.
that's important because we teach our users not to click on stuff. And it's important to know that our company branding is there so they know it's something they can trust from IT.
Exactly.
Now, this next one I'm really excited about. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I know we've got multi language support. And I know so many of the people watching this are with global companies that have multiple languages in their environment. And now, show us what it looks like for multi language prompts.
So I know a lot of our customers were waiting on this. So super excited to be able to have multi-language support for both notifications and surveys. So let's say I'm creating a notification now to my employees, and I can decide whether or not I want to add a trigger condition. So again, we talked about trigger conditions, and which is essentially an indicator that the endpoint is meeting a criteria and needs to receive a notification. And so this is totally optional. It doesn't have to have a trigger. I can just schedule a notification without a trigger. But if you do want to add a trigger, that's available to you here in adding a condition. For this specific example, we're not going to add a condition. For multi-language support, I have my original language here, which is going to be English. My theme is going to be the Tanium theme because that's what we all know and love. I can decide whether or not I want to have a toast view or a modal view. So what that means, a modal view is going to steal the screen. Like let's say it's something really important that you want to make sure your users are seeing, and you want to be more intrusive, you're going to use the modal view. If you want to be more gentle here, you're going to use the toast in the lower right corner. And then from here, I'm going to add the notification text. So I have my notification text. I can also customize the button text, as I mentioned. Accept or acknowledge would be an example here. And then, as I mentioned, I can add a remediation, which can be either a task. A task would be any Tanium action, right? Like, so restarting a device, updating an application. So any Tanium package that you can think of, you can use as a remediation task here. For this specific example, we're just going to add a link right to the status page for Zoom. And then let's talk a little bit about adding multi-language support. My original language is English, right? Obviously. So now I want to add, for example, multi-language support for French, for example. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to click submit. And then what I'm going to have to do is translate the notification title, text, and buttons. And then from here, this is going to be manual translations. You'll do that in the Engage workbench. And then as any other survey or notification, you're going to save it and then schedule it.
Based on the locale and the end user's OS, it'll pop the right language depending on what they've got on the survey.
Yep, that's correct. Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, that's going to make a lot of people happy. So Mayan, if we can do this with the new notifications feature, can we also do this with the existing surveys?
Yes, 100%. You can add multi-language support to surveys just as you would for notifications. Whenever you creating your survey, that's when you'll add the multi-language support to whatever languages you're interested in.
Fantastic. So that's a lot of new features in both performance and engage. Now, you said you had something else that was kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, so the last thing I want to talk about is our new DEX dashboard, right? So a lot of our customers, they told us that they love the new type of data that we brought to performance and engage, but they wanted to have it in one centralized place. They wanted to be able to see employee score with device score. They wanted to see the different DEX metrics in one single dashboard, one single pane of glass. So if you want to go in here and have this, look at the search bar, search for the dashboard, DEX. This is really easily going to open up the new DEX dashboard where you can see all your engage surveys and notification, employee sentiment, as well as your performance scores here over time. And then you're also going to be able to see your sentiment scored by users. So if you're interested in seeing a specific user and what their experience is like, you'll be able to see that on this one single dashboard. All the way to the bottom, we're going to have the performance data as well. So all your performance scores, performance score by criticality, as well as the performance score by endpoint.
Well, Mayan, this is quite an update. Lots of new features, and a recurring theme that I kept hearing there was customers have asked for it. So we've delivered again, and I'd like to thank you for your role in the way that you're helping lead some of this effort. I know Jason Stow's been on the show before, and he works in this area as well. So thank you to you and your team. I'm curious, these changes have been out for a little bit now. Have you heard feedback from customers once those were delivered?
Specifically for performance alerts, our customers are really excited about the real-time value of being able to get these alerts near real time, right? For Engage, we talked about the value of being able to get that visibility from employees and being able to automate some of these things that are, they don't require any manual intervention. It's something that the user can just fix themselves. And so this gets really a lot of our customers excited.
So I always like to joke with product managers, because you make them dance when you ask them about, okay, what's next? Can you give any dates, right? So I know we can't talk about dates, but what's coming next here? Can you give us a little sample maybe of something that might be coming soon?
One of the things that we are working on is adding more metrics to performance. We talked about the network telemetry data that we've added. We're also working on adding boot and logon events. So you'll be able to see that in that events page that I just showed earlier. And then for Engage, we are working on adding templates for notifications and surveys. So it will make it easier for our customers to really start from zero. They don't have to start from zero. They can just, select the template, they can edit it, and it will be much, much easier for them.
Well, I know that boot logon performance, that's been an issue for decades. And people are going to love that. This is fantastic. Well, thank you, Mayan, for coming on the show today and walking us through. And as usual, folks, in the show notes below here in the video, there are a bunch of links. Obviously, we've got links to documentation and links to our feature release notes. And we always do a community or resource center article around these features as well. So those resources are down there. Check them out if you need some extra instructions and some extra material maybe to share with your team as you're giving them the good news of these improvements. So that wraps up today's episode of Tanium Tech Talks. Until next time, Go-Tanium.